This is Crafting Your Professional Portfolio, and we're at session 2 and talking about portfolio strategies. And remember, our goal for the course overall is to develop a professionally presented portfolio that showcases your approach and unique point of view to your work. Before we jump into a discussion on portfolio strategies, I wanted to first lay a little bit of groundwork. Switch your mindset that the portfolio is a body of work showcasing what you've done. Your portfolio is a body of work that is aimed at getting you an income generating activity. A job is something you do because you make money at it. A career is where, no matter what job you're working in, you are working toward greater goals and your work therefore becomes more meaningful to you. And a career is more of a lifelong idea. A career is something that can take you into and beyond retirement age, and you still have work to look forward to. You're still meaningfully productive, and you're still creating relevance and satisfaction and fulfillment in your life. Your portfolio is a key element to building a career. So that said, what is your career focus? If you are building something, if you are starting out on a path that is going to be a small step toward a larger career, a larger lifestyle, is your focus going to be employment or building your own business and perhaps hiring your own employees at some point? And this question, of course, touches on your whys and your goals, the things we talked about in the first session. If you're entrepreneurial, having a job is not going to make you happy. You're not going to be satisfied. There's going to be something always missing. If you are job-oriented, being entrepreneurial feels really insecure, and you're going to have some difficulty relaxing into that entrepreneurial mindset. The mindset, the frame of mind, is different between having a job or being entrepreneurial, being independent. So the portfolio of the person looking for employment has a different purpose than the portfolio of an entrepreneur. And if you are looking for employment, your portfolio can do different things for you, depending upon the type of job that you want to find. So let's look at some of those career focus concepts and see what you think. And what we're about in this session is figuring out your career focus. Do you want to be an employee or an entrepreneur? Do you want to have a job or do you want to freelance? And it could be that you want to do both. So let's look at what those things look like and how your portfolio needs to adjust. So the examples I'm using for our purpose are of a graphic designer. But if you're an illustrator or photographer, you still have these same considerations to deal with. So please don't feel excluded if you're a photographer and I'm talking about a graphic design job, translated into your own market sector, into your own field. So if your career focus is to find a job, become employed, work for somebody else, and you're looking at this point at an entry-level position, say a junior designer or mid-level designer, one of the things to understand is that you will be part of a team, and that is different than being a leader in terms of the creative work that you'll be doing. As part of a team, you will fulfill a distinct, specific role that complements everybody else on that team. So that means that employers will be looking for a specific fit. Say you're looking at an ad agency and they're working on a very high-profile client. They're looking for designers to come in and play certain roles within serving that client. They're going to be looking at your work and at you on the basis of, are you a good fit for that team? They'll be looking for a specific mindset, a specific approach, and a specific skill set. That means that you need to narrow the focus of your portfolio, and you need to narrow it so that you target that specific job. You also need to show depth of work, not breadth, not a lot of different things, but things that are similar and have different parts to them. And another thing is that you might be able to do the work that a company is asking you to do, but it may not be your style. Or, for instance, maybe a company is going to be hiring, or they're looking to hire somebody who is really good at photo editing in Lightroom and Photoshop, and your strength is typography. So you may not be the right person for that job, even though you could do the editing and you know Photoshop really well, and you've done editing and you like doing it. If your passion is typography and that's mostly what you're showing in your book, you're not going to get hired for a photo editing position. Now, if you're looking for a senior designer or an art director level position, you're not really part of a team in terms of how they're looking at you. They're looking at you to lead the team. They're looking at you to set the pace and to be able to manage a project, all different aspects of a larger project, manage budgets, work directly with the account execs, or work directly with the client that the company is serving. You need to be able to manage people and manage various tasks and strategies and set the pace and set the vision for a particular project. So that's what a team leader does. It's a different skill set than fulfilling a team role. For senior designer and art director, especially for art director, you're going to get hired for a breadth of capability rather than a deep focus, and also leadership ability. So therefore, in your book, you need to broaden your focus. You can't go too broad. So like if you're looking to work as an art director at BMW, you don't necessarily want to show a lot of, say, food campaigns in your book. You want to focus more on motorcycles or cars. So you have to narrow in terms of subject matter, but you need to have a broader focus to your work and what you're presenting than specific depth. As I said, you need to show breadth selectively, and that is making sure that you're still targeting that portfolio toward the people that you are interviewing with. You need to come in as the solution to a problem or as the fit for a missing piece to their puzzle. And people hire people who fit their company culture. Some company cultures are far more corporate. If you want to work at, say, Landor, it's very much a corporate culture. It's suit and tie or close to it, whereas if you want to work at Omelette, it's very casual. If you are an employee, these things are what you need to keep in mind. You're not going to be hired for something you're not good at. And your portfolio has to demonstrate what you're good at. It needs to target that specific market at least. And you need to tweak it toward a specific employer or a specific specialization. So one of the first things you want to do is research prospective employers. As you get ready to go out and look for work, or as you get ready to change jobs, first thing you should be doing is looking on Indeed or Glassdoor. Look at some of the directories like the Red Books, the Workbook. Research ad agency websites if you want to work at an ad agency. Research the company websites if you want to work in an in-house creative department. Research nonprofits if that's the market sector you want to work in. And if you are an entrepreneur, a founder, or a freelancer, in other words, you want to start a business, you're going to work independently. Nobody's going to tell you what to do. You will not be part of a team necessarily. You will essentially work independently. You can, of course, collaborate and you can subcontract parts of a job. You'll obviously be working directly with a client, but nobody's telling you when to work, nobody's telling you how to work, and nobody is telling you what to use when you work. So in a way, you need to posture yourself as an agency, even if you're a small one. And there's a variety of ways you can work as a freelancer. You can work through an agency and go in-house on short-term gigs at a company and just bounce around from company to company wherever the agency places you. So it's basically temp work. You can be an independent consultant type on a longer-term basis. You can provide a la carte design services, kind of going project by project. You can collaborate with other creatives, and so a loose partnership or a kind of a creative group, people that kind of work together on projects. Basically, if you're an entrepreneur or a founder, you're not going to receive a steady paycheck. You get paid per job or per project or maybe on retainer. It's a business model because you're not employed. And so you will need to posture as an agency. So you're going to have a little more breadth to what you do and what you're showing in your book. The ability, almost as a senior designer, art director level, you are going to have to be able to show your ability to manage a project and your ability to create different parts of a larger project. Freelancers can specialize, meaning they go vertically, or they can generalize, meaning they go more horizontally. They have a broader focus. I'm more of a generalist because my specialty is visual branding. And so I do the branding, I create the website, I do the social media, I do the print work. So I'm digital and print. I don't specialize in one specific thing. I look for cohesion over all the platforms that my client uses to promote their business. And so that is my area of, quote, specialty, unquote. Other kinds of specialists will specialize in a particular service offering, like maybe they just design WordPress websites. Maybe they only do product photography. Maybe they only do wedding photography. That kind of specialty is what you'd call a vertical. They're specializing within a certain market sector, like maybe they only service medical clients or a particular kind of nonprofit. So you can go vertically in terms of the kinds of services you offer and have a broad clientele, or you can have a broad service offering to a narrow kind of clientele, or you can generalize and have a broad service offering for a broad clientele. Another consideration about your career focus and being entrepreneurial is the idea of working remotely. I mean, you can work anywhere. You can take your laptop over to Pete's or Starbucks and sit there for a day and do your work. Or you can stay in studio, or you can go to a co-working space, whatever you want to do. The services you offer can be focused on a particular market niche or a specific service niche. Remember that as you look for employment, companies will hire based on how well people fit their culture and their specific needs. When you are entrepreneurial and you're working with clients, keep in mind that people work with who they trust. So you have a focus then of not just creating really great work, but being trustworthy, somebody that people want to work with and can trust to do the job, because you are independent and nobody is directing you. So there's a different sort of responsibility there. As an entrepreneur, you will be hired for how people think you are able to do their work. And your portfolio needs to have a breadth. Again, it's a selective breadth that demonstrates what you're good at. And it needs to target that particular market. Say you're working only with nonprofits. Say you're working only with cause-based businesses and nonprofits. Maybe you only work with bloggers, helping them brand. Or you show an expertise, like mine is visual branding and everything that entails. I know certain firms, they only do annual reports. That's what they're known for. That's what they're really good at. They take raw data and make it visually pleasing and engaging. Whatever your expertise is, your focus, your portfolio needs to speak to that. And you need to tweak your portfolio for breadth, as I already mentioned, and show how you can lead, how you can manage a project, how you can take the point for a client. So instead of researching prospective employers, your job is to research prospective clients. Identify the kinds of people that you want to work with, the kinds of businesses or organizations. Look at their websites, make notes. What are they looking for? What do they need? What do you notice? And then your outreach would be specifically to them. Well, then the question often comes up, well, what if I'm multi-passionate? What if I'm both an illustrator and a designer? So multi-passionate means that you are adept in more than one area of expertise, or you have more than one specific interest. And that's quite okay. But again, your approach needs to address that. You will create separate portfolios. As an illustrator and as a designer, I can't market my illustration to design clients because they don't need that. At the same time, if I try to send design work to the people that I'm marketing illustration to, that wouldn't make sense. So you have to have separate books and separate efforts. And then questions come up, well, do I need more than one website? Should I have more than one blog? Do I need more than one social media profile? And things like that. We'll talk about all that as we get to it. But these are some things to consider because several of you have indicated that you are interested in doing more than one thing. Just understand that unless those different things are closely related, you cannot put them in the same portfolio because that's going to confuse people. If you are multi-passionate, a very good idea is to take a case study approach where you're showing your development process and the results of the process. And we'll talk about what case studies are later on, but it's more than just showing your work in your portfolio. In each of your portfolios, you want to show a high level of consistency. So if you're multi-passionate but you're not as strong in one area as you are in the other, you're not going to go as far in the area where you're weaker or you're showing weaker work. So you have to work to build up so that you can show a high level of quality. So separate portfolios include the development process, a case study approach. And the reason for that is people might know or they might figure out that you're multi-passionate. And if you take a case study approach, it solidifies your expertise. By all means, be consistent in quality throughout your body of work. If you are multi-passionate, one of the things that you could do is get a job based on one of your passions and freelance based on the other. So you get a job as a UX designer, but you freelance as an illustrator. Again, 2 portfolios. Either way, you're going to need to find out who you can market to. Research prospective employers, research prospective clients. So your portfolio is going to be based on what you want to do. Your portfolio approach will be different than if you are independent and building your own business as a freelancer or starting a business in order to build a creative agency. And if you're multi-passionate, you're going to have more than one portfolio, and you will have effort in terms of marketing one portfolio versus marketing the other. So these are some things to think about in terms of career focus. And once you know what your focus will be, then you start structuring your portfolio. So let's talk a bit about portfolio strategy. First thing, strategically, a portfolio's purpose is not to be an archive of your work. Also, you don't want to show all your work. So you have to be selective. You want to show your strongest, highest quality, best effort work, most aesthetically sound, most creative in terms of thought and problem solving. The idea is quality work over the amount of work. When I was in school and preparing my portfolio, the basic idea was you should show about 12 to 15 pieces in your book. And so we were scrambling to put together 12 to 15 pieces, and that was the expectation back then. The best idea is that you always go for quality over quantity. If you have only 5 really good pieces, that's what you show. Don't create work that is less than just to have a quantity in your portfolio. You're going to be remembered for your best work and for your worst work. In fact, the weakest piece in your portfolio is generally the one that gets remembered the most. So you want to mitigate weakness. Don't include work that's not a professional level. Choose the works that best represent your ability and your knowledge. Select works that showcase your ability to solve visual problems in an engaging and winsome manner. And select work that is also aesthetically sound, meaning it's good design based on design principles. Don't include obvious student work. Well, so you're a student, so that's the only kind of work you have. Well, yes, but there should be work that is more professional in its orientation. I've looked at portfolios of students, and many of them will show work for a school event, something they did for their fraternity. Anything that is obviously done by a student for student purposes should not be included in your portfolio. The reason is there's a level of professional quality work that's expected. An employer's not going to hire you based on student work. They're going to hire you based on professional work. Don't include fake work for brands. For some reason, a lot of people will decide, well, I want to do work for Coca-Cola, so here, let me put together a campaign to show Coca-Cola what I can do for them. The problem with that is that brands don't like that, and it's obviously not real work. So when you show fake work that you've done for a particular brand that hasn't been commissioned by that brand, it's obvious fake work. It is unprofessional. Because you are creating a professional portfolio, anything that is experimental doesn't belong. Your work needs to have a very practical focus. It needs to be practical for the company or the clients you're targeting. I reviewed the portfolio of a master's degree candidate who was exceptionally skilled at UX and interactive design. And she was showing me an amazingly crafted and coded website. But she told me, I want to see how you navigate it and see if you can figure it out. Her comment was the clue that her work was not practical. If I have to figure out what her website is all about and how to navigate it, that's not going to be practical for a client. There's certain user interfaces, certain conventions that need to be followed in order for something to be practical. Because when people are using websites for businesses and for communication, it's not a game, it's not a toy. And so this wonderful piece of work was just not going to cut it. And she had spent probably a couple terms developing this website, but it has a very limited market. So include work that is going to be practical for the people that you are trying to work with. Here's the difference between professional work and student work. It's a mindset or a mentality issue. A professional takes care of the details. There's nothing that's only just good enough. Everything is exquisitely crafted. Everything is aesthetically sound. Everything makes sense in terms of the purpose and the message of the work. Students often will do just what's required to get the grade. And depending upon the class and depending upon the instructor, getting the grade is not necessarily going to get the job. If you're coming out of school, or if you're about to exit school, or you're in school, getting good grades is good, but understand that you're not going to get work on the basis of your transcript. You're going to get work on the basis of what's in your portfolio, and the portfolio needs to be professionally calibrated. Get rid of any obvious student-oriented work. Revise what work is left when you need to. Be practical and be ruthless with your own work. And some of what we do in this class will be ruthless in terms of getting your work to the level that it should be. Your approach in putting together your portfolio should not be, look what I did, aren't I a great artist, designer, photographer, or whatever. It should be, this is the problem. This is how I solved the problem. This is the need. This is the purpose. This is how I met the need. This is how the work works. For every piece in your portfolio, you should have a backstory. And it's not just, well, it was what was assigned. If there isn't a purpose, create one. Create a story behind it. Your work needs to fit specific needs, communication, interaction, point of sale, and you need to communicate how your work solves that problem or meets that need. And then what was your role in creating the work? Sometimes you're working on team projects. What specific role did you have in a work? Were you the art director? Did you come up with the concept? Were you given the concept and you did the production on it? What was your specific role in creating the work? People want to know, for the purpose of making sure you fit within their environment, but also that's for the purpose of convincing them your work is going to address needs and solve problems, unless you're a fine artist, and that's a whole different thing. Okay, so again, your work as a designer, illustrator, photographer should have a problem-solving bent to it. A specific need is solved, and what was your role in creating the work? Because you're going to get asked those questions. So your assignment, your second assignment, now that you've done your goals and your whys, is to pick your top 3 pieces. what you think your best pieces are. And for each one, you're going to share why you believe they're your best. You're also going to share what need or problem does each piece of work address, and what was your role in creating it. In other words, did you come up with the concept? Was it a team or collaborative effort? You're going to share what your career focus is, and you're also going to share what kind of work you want to do, and then you're going to come back around to those three pieces and share how those pieces fit the kind of work you want to do. So here's another sidebar about the kind of work you want to do. Understand that as you start out in a career field, you can pivot and turn a corner, change direction, stop and restart. So what you start out doing is not necessarily your life's course. You will make changes. You will change jobs, you'll change clients, you'll change focus. Don't think that because you start out with your portfolio in one direction as a career focus, you have to stay with that for the rest of your working life. And it's highly impractical to think that way, because you don't know what's coming up. Technology changes, the job market changes, you might have a job today and it's gone tomorrow. How you approach your portfolio is an all-over, all-around idea, and you can use it at any point in your career, so it's not just for using out of the gate, it's for whenever you need it during your career. So just keep that in mind. So again, you're going to select and share your three best pieces. You're going to share why you think they're your best. You're going to talk about what need or problem they address. You're going to share what your role was in creating the work. You're going to share what your initial career focus is going to be, or when you graduate. And you're going to talk about what kind of work you really want to do, and then how do these pieces fit the kind of work you want to do. And you'll basically present images as JPEGs, PNGs, or PDFs. If you want to do a video, you certainly can. Make it an MP4 and upload the video. If you want to do motion graphics, you can do that. If you just want to do a slide deck, you can do that. That's why you can do a PDF. And then your responses to these questions, you'll go ahead and include in the comment section of your post within the coursework forum. And by all means, let me know if you have any questions, or if you're stumped on something, let me know how I can help. Thanks, and I'll see you in the discussion forum.